When I was around 6 or 7 years old, I went to a pool party with my biracial cousin, and I was the only black person at the whole party. I was just swimming along, and I saw a little girl kind of looking at me funny, and I didn't realize that I was swimming close to her, getting close to her. But by the time I did, she freaked out and started crying hysterically because she was afraid of me. And that was the first time I realized that I was different and that there was something wrong with the way that I looked and that it wasn't a positive thing. So I grew up in a really backward small town where that was the norm. White kids could do a lot of things that we would only dream of doing and getting away with, and we were just supposed to be okay with that. So growing up in a town like that, being a black girl, I hated myself in different ways that I think other girls did. It wasn't just about acne or my nose or anything different about the way I looked. It was the fact that I hated my hair and its texture because I had to wear a swimming cap every time we went to the swimming pool, or I hated the fact that my nose was so big and black and my lips were so full. I hated the color of my skin. I hated that I was so black and so dark, and that every summer I knew I was just going to get even darker. And when people talked about beautiful girls, that wasn't the look. It wasn't the dark-skinned girl on TV that was beautiful. It was the lighter-skinned girl, or in magazines. I wasn't what people thought was pretty. So I grew up around a lot of white people that really did love me and care about me. And I asked one of my friends one day who had a son if, when his son gets older, would you allow him to date a black girl? And he paused and said, well, of course, if she's like you. So I knew that meant if she was stereotypically black, it would never happen. And I realized at that point that I had, since being the little girl in the swimming pool, I changed the way I spoke and the way I carried myself. And I made sure that when white people around me thought about black people, they didn't think about me. So I didn't have to deal with the blatant racist things that all the other black girls or black guys around me had to deal with, because I was the Oreo. I was the girl that could just kick it with any type of people. I could just fit in with the white people. I was never white enough for them, but I could blend in enough, and I could put on my white girl voice and get things done and be successful without having to deal with the blatant racist things that were coming out of people's mouth.
A young black man working at Chick-fil-A 3 weeks in. A pastor comes to me and asks me, hey son, have you ever picked cotton before? Me wanted to retaliate because I was so fueled with anger. Doesn't, because I know in my heart that I would be the one that got in the most trouble. But the thing about it is that though I would have been looked at as evil, there were evil words that were spoken to me by a pastor at a Christian company, which doesn't make sense because what they have said contradicted all of what Jesus spoke about and what Scripture says. That made me feel terrible, because besides black women having one of the hardest jobs throughout history, losing their husband as a slave and having to take care of their kids by themselves, black men, black Christian men have had the hardest job ever because they are looked upon as inhumane, looked upon as dangerous, suspicious, evil, not like others, unworthy. There's no hope.
This is my story, and it matters.
This is my story, and it matters.
One day, when the glory comes, it'll be ours. It'll be ours.
Oh, one day, when the war is won, it'll be sure. It'll be sure. Oh, glory, glory.